I never thought I'd be the kind of woman who cheats. But then again, I never thought a man like him would look at me the way he did, like I was the only woman in the room. Like he wanted to devour me right there in front of everyone. His name was Daniel, my husband's best friend, and the moment our eyes locked at that summer BBQ, I knew I was in trouble. That summer BBQ was supposed to be just another boring gathering grilled burgers, cheap beer, and the same old conversations about work and kids. But then Daniel showed up, tall, with that confident smirk, his tattoos peeking out from under his rolled up sleeves. He wasn't just handsome, he was dangerous. And the way he looked at me, like he already knew what I was thinking. My husband, Mark, was too busy laughing with his buddies near the grill to notice the way Daniel's fingers lingered when he handed me a drink. "You look incredible today," he murmured, his voice low enough that only I could hear. I felt my cheeks burn, but I didn't look away. That was my first mistake. Later, when I went inside to grab more napkins, Daniel followed me. The kitchen was empty, the sounds of laughter outside distant. He didn't say a word, just stepped close, his body pressing me against the fridge. I could feel his breath on my neck as he whispered, "I've wanted to do this for years." And then his lips were on mine, hungry, demanding. I should have pushed him away. But God help me, I kissed him back. When we finally pulled apart, my heart was pounding. He smirked, running a thumb over my bottom lip. "We're not done," he said. And just like that, he walked away, leaving me breathless and guilty, but already craving more. After that day, I couldn't stop thinking about him. Every text notification made my stomach flip. When my phone buzzed that night with an unknown number, I already knew who it was. "Still thinking about how you taste?" My fingers trembled as I typed back. "You shouldn't say things like that." His reply was instant. "But you love it." And I did. For weeks, we flirted through texts, each one dirtier than the last. He told me what he wanted to do to me, where he wanted to touch me. I'd never been spoken to like that, not even by my husband. It was intoxicating. Then came the day he invited me over. Mark's at work. His son is at school. Come to my place. I knew it was wrong. But I went anyway. Daniel's house was quiet when I arrived. He opened the door wearing nothing but low-slung sweatpants, his bare chest on display. Before I could say a word, he pulled me inside and pinned me against the wall. "I've waited too long for this," he growled, his hands already under my dress. What happened next was a blur of heat and desperation. His mouth on my skin, his hands everywhere. He carried me to the couch, yanked off my panties, but then a noise, a door opening. Footsteps, we froze. Daniel's eyes went wide. Shit, my stepson's home early. I scrambled to cover myself as a teenage voice called out, "Daniel, you here?" I barely had time to pull my dress down before the boy walked into the living room and saw everything. The boy Jake, 19, with his father's sharp jawline but his mother's piercing blue eyes, stopped dead in his tracks. His backpack hit the floor with a thud. For a heartbeat, nobody moved. Then his lips curled into a slow, knowing smirk. "Well, this is awkward." Asterisk Daniel jumped up, adjusting his sweatpants. "Jake, it's not what it—" "Save it." Jake cut him off, eyes locked on me. My dress was still bunched around my waist, my thighs bare. I wanted to disappear, but then he said something that made my blood run cold. "How long has this been going on?" Daniel hesitated. "Today was the first time." Jake laughed a dark, humorless sound. "Bullshit. I've seen the way you look at her, and the text on your phone last week." He stepped closer, and I finally yanked my dress down. "You're a terrible liar, Daniel." Asterisk. Silence. Then Jake's gaze slid to me, slow, deliberate. "But don't worry, I can keep a secret." His voice dropped. "For a price." 2 days later, my phone buzzed. An unknown number. A photo. Me half naked on Daniel's couch, his hand tangled in my hair, followed by a message, "Meet me tonight, alone, or this goes to Mark." My stomach twisted. Jake. I should have refused. But fear made me reckless. I went asterisk. He opened his dorm door wearing nothing but a towel, water still glistening on his chest. "Knew you'd come," he murmured, stepping aside. The room smelled like weed and cheap cologne. My hands shook as I walked in. "You're insane," I hissed. "Delete that photo, now." Jake just smiled, locking the door behind us. "Or what? You'll tell my stepdad you're fucking his son, too?" He stepped closer, his breath hot on my ear. "Relax, I just want to talk." His fingers brushed my hip, mostly. I don't know how it happened. One minute I was pushing him away, the next his mouth was on mine. His hands rougher than Daniel's, hungry in a way that made me hate myself for moaning. The towel hit the floor. The bed creaked. And when it was over, he took another photo. "Insurance," he said, grinning. I fled, disgusted with myself, but the worst part? I couldn't stop thinking about it. About both of them. 3 weeks later, Mark found the texts. All of them, Daniel, Jake, even the photos. I'll never forget the look on his face, like his soul had been ripped out. "My best friend," he whispered, "and my son." The divorce papers came the next day. Daniel vanished. Jake posted the photos online for the lulz, and me? I lost everything, but here's the sick truth. Sometimes at night, I still touch myself thinking about them. Asterisk. The divorce was swift and brutal. Mark made sure everyone knew why our marriage ended. My parents stopped taking my calls. My friends whispered behind my back at the grocery store. Even the barista at my favorite coffee shop gave me that look, the one that said, "I know what you did." I moved to a cheap apartment across town, the kind with thin walls and flickering lights. At night, I could hear my neighbors arguing, their voices muffled but angry. It matched the chaos in my head. "Hen," the text started again. "Unknown number. Miss me?" Jake. Of course it was Jake. He didn't want money. He didn't want revenge. He wanted more. "Come over. Or I send the rest of the photos to your ex's family." I should have blocked him. I should have changed my number. But I didn't. That night, I stood outside his dorm again, my heart pounding. He opened the door, shirtless, a smirk playing on his lips. "Knew you couldn't stay away." This time, there was no pretense, no fake "let's talk." He pushed me onto the bed the second the door closed, his hands rough, his mouth cruel. I hated myself for how wet I was. After, as I dressed with shaking hands, he lit a cigarette and said, "Same time next week?" I didn't answer. But we both knew the truth. Asterisk. Then the video leaked. ... I don't know how Jake got it. Maybe he recorded us without me knowing. Maybe Daniel was involved. But suddenly, it was everywhere. A 10-second clip of me moaning Jake's name, my face clear as day. My boss called me into his office the next morning. "We can't have this kind of attention," he said, sliding a termination letter across the desk. That night, I sat on the edge of my bathtub with a bottle of vodka and a handful of pills. Then my phone buzzed. "Jake, you look hotter when you cry." Attached was a screenshot of my Facebook profile, my tear-streaked face from my last live video. He'd been watching. Of course he had asterisk. Something inside me snapped. I poured the pills down the drain, drank the vodka straight from the bottle, and made a decision. If Jake wanted to play games, I'd play better. I texted Daniel for the first time in months. "We need to talk about Jake." When he showed up at my door, desperate and sweating, I knew I had him. "He's blackmailing me too," Daniel admitted. "He has videos ... of us." I smiled for the first time in weeks. "Then let's stop him, asterisk." I knew Jake would come when I called. Men like him arrogant, entitled always do. Especially when the message is just vague enough to stroke their ego. Me, I'm done fighting this. You win. Come over tonight alone. I spent hours preparing. Dim lighting, silk robe, the same perfume I wore the first time we fucked. I even poured 2 glasses of wine, one for him, one for me. Except mine would remain untouched. When the knock came, my hands were steady for the first time in months. Jake strode in like he owned the place, his eyes already dark with anticipation. Took you long enough to admit it, he smirked, grabbing my waist. You belong to me now. I let him kiss me, let his hands roam like they had so many times before. But when he pushed me onto the couch, I stopped him with a finger to his lips. First, a game. His eyebrow quirked. What kind of game? I reached for the wine glass. Truth or dare, but with stakes. He laughed, swiping the drink from my hand. You're fucking crazy. But he drank deeply. They always do. By the third truth, the Rohypnol started hitting. His pupils dilated, his words slurred. What did you do to me? I leaned in close as he slumped against the cushions. Just helping you tell the truth, Jake. Who really recorded us that first time? His head lolled. Daniel gave me the idea. Said you'd do anything to keep it quiet. I hit record on my phone. And the blackmail. Whose idea was that? His, but I liked it. A sick grin. Liked making you crawl. The glass slipped from his fingers. He was out before it shattered. ... Daniel answered on the first ring. It's done, I said. I have everything. His breath hitched. You're sure? Enough to put Jake in prison. Enough to ruin you if you ever come near me again. Silence. Then a hoarse whisper. What do you want? I watched Jake's chest rise and fall, his face peaceful in drugged oblivion. The video files. Every copy. Or this recording goes to the police and your wife. The files arrived via encrypted link at 3 a.m. I burned them. Deleted the cloud backups. Watched the flames lick at my reflection in the bathroom mirror. Jake woke up hours later in his dorm with no memory of the night. Daniel transferred to a different state, and me, I kept the recording. Asterisk, because somewhere between the blackmail and the betrayal, I'd learned the most important lesson. In this world, there are wolves and sheep. And I'd finally grown teeth. Asterisk. 1 year later, asterisk, the knock at my new penthouse door came at midnight. The man on the other side, a CEO, married, with everything to lose, flinched when I opened it. I got your text, he stammered. Please, my wife can't. Asterisk. Asterisk, I silenced him with a finger to his lips, just like I'd done to Jake. First, I whispered, stepping back to let him in. Let's play a game. The CEO's sweaty palms left prints on my leather couch as I poured him a drink. His eyes darted to the phone on the table, the one containing photos of him with his assistant at the Hilton last Thursday. What do you want? He stammered. I let the silence stretch before answering. Your company's voting shares. And your seat on the charity board. His face went pale. Good. Fear makes men predictable. Just as I was about to continue, my smart lock beeped. Someone was at my door at midnight. My blood ran cold when the security feed showed Jake's face, distorted through the fisheye lens, a crooked smile revealing the chipped tooth from when Daniel punched him during their last fight. Expecting company? The CEO asked hopefully. I silenced him with a glare as Jake's voice came through the intercom. Miss me, sweetheart? The sing-song tone made my skin crawl. 3 rapid taps on my phone activated emergency protocols. Hidden cameras zoomed in on Jake's hands. No visible weapons, but his right pocket bulged suspiciously. The CEO started hyperventilating. Who is that? Should I call? You'll sit there and stay quiet? I hissed, throwing his phone in the fish tank. My fingers flew across my tablet, pulling up the security system I'd installed after the divorce. One button would alert the off-duty cop I kept on retainer. But something stopped me. Jake held up a familiar USB drive. Brought a trip down memory lane, he called cheerfully. My stomach dropped. Those files were supposed to be destroyed. Against every survival instinct, I opened the door. Jake looked worse than I remembered. Gaunt face, greasy hair, but those same predator's eyes. Surprise. He shouldered past me, freezing when he saw the CEO. Ooh, fresh meat. The USB hit my coffee table with a clack. Turns out Daniel kept copies. Sent them to me right before his unfortunate accident. His grin turned feral. 3 car accidents in 6 months? Really, babe? You're getting sloppy. The CEO chose that moment to bolt for the door. Jake moved like lightning, slamming him against the wall. Leaving so soon? He patted the man's pockets, pulling out a wallet. Richard Ellington? Wow, you're upgrading. I reached for the panic button under my desk. Jake's hand closed around my wrist. We're having a family meeting. He threw Richard to the ground and kicked my office chair toward him. Daddy's home. What happened next unfolded with nightmarish clarity. *1. Jake made Richard film us at gunpoint just for insurance. *2. He took $20,000 in cash from my safe. 3. Left with a kiss on my forehead and a promise. Monthly payments or the videos go viral. When the door closed behind him, Richard vomited on my Persian rug. I stared at the USB drive still on the table, my perfect life crumbling all over again. Then I noticed it, the tiny scratch near the port. This wasn't the original, which meant ... My laptop dinged with a security alert, motion detected in my backup apartment. The camera feed showed Jake rifling through my drawers, tossing the place like a burglar, searching for something. The real USB. The moment Jake left, I grabbed the burner phone from its hidden compartment beneath my floorboards. My fingers dialed a number I'd sworn never to use again. Mark answered on the second ring. You're calling me? His voice was rough, deeper than I remembered. After everything, I didn't have time for guilt. Jake's back. He's got copies of the videos. And he's not working alone. A long silence. Then the sound of a car engine roaring to life. Where are you? Mark arrived in 15 minutes flat, his truck screeching to a halt outside my building. When I opened the door, I barely recognized him. His beard was thicker, his eyes colder. He looked at me like I was a stranger. Then he saw Richard still shaking on my couch. Who the fuck is this? Collateral damage, I said. Mark's jaw tightened. He grabbed Richard by the collar and hauled him to his feet. You breathe a word of tonight, and I'll make sure your wife finds out about every mistress you've ever had. Understood? Richard nodded frantically before scrambling out the door. Then it was just us ... Mark turned to me, his voice low. Now, tell me everything. Jake said Daniel sent him the files before his accident. I watched Mark's face carefully. But you and I both know Daniel didn't die in a car crash. Mark's expression darkened. No, he didn't. A chill ran down my spine. What did you do? He didn't answer. Instead, he pulled out his phone and showed me a photo, a grainy security still of Daniel, very much alive, boarding a flight to Mexico 3 weeks ago. He faked his death, Mark said, and now he's using Jake to clean up his mess. We worked through the night, forming a plan. Bait, I'd text Jake, agreeing to his demands, luring him to an abandoned warehouse Mark owned. Surveillance, hidden cameras would capture everything. Leverage. Once we had proof Jake was blackmailing me, we'd use it to force him to lead us to Daniel. One condition, Mark said as dawn broke. You don't get to walk away from this unscathed. You owe me. I didn't ask what he meant. I already knew. Jake arrived cocky as ever, a smirk on his face as he strolled into the dimly lit warehouse. Knew you cave, he said, patting his pocket where I knew he kept the USB. Then the lights flipped on. Mark stepped out of the shadows, a gun in his hand. Jake's smirk vanished. Oh shit, where's Daniel? Mark growled. Jake laughed nervously. You think I'm scared of? The bullet hit the concrete at Jake's feet, making him yelp. Next one goes in your knee, Mark said calmly. Then your dick. Then, okay, fuck. Jake's hand shot up. He's in Tijuana. Some villa outside the city. He's been paying me to keep you both distracted. Mark glanced at me. You believe him? I stepped forward, my heels clicking against the concrete. Let's find out. I drove my knee into Jake's groin with every ounce of strength I had. As he crumpled to the ground, gasping, I leaned down and whispered, You're going to take us to Daniel. And if you try to run, I pressed the stun gun to his neck. I'll enjoy watching you scream. The air in Tijuana smelled like salt and gasoline as we dragged Jake through the back alleys toward Daniel's villa. His nose was broken from when he tried to run at the border. Mark's knuckles were still bloody from the lesson. He'll kill me, Jake mumbled, spitting red onto the dirt. You don't know what he's capable of. Mark racked the slide of his pistol. Try me. Asterisk, the villa was of fortress-high walls, security cameras, armed men patrolling the rooftop. Jake gave us the access code under the threat of losing his other kneecap. The gate creaked open. Silence. Then, I was wondering when you'd show up. Daniel stepped into the courtyard, flanked by 2 mercenaries. He looked different, tanned, sharper, a jagged scar running down his neck. But his smile was the same one that had once made my stomach flutter. Now it made me want to vomit, ... Miss me? Mark didn't hesitate. He fired. One of the mercenaries dropped. The other lunged. I shot him in the throat. Jake tried to crawl away. Daniel sighed, pulled a second pistol from his waistband, and put a bullet between his eyes without looking. Always was a liability, he muttered. Then it was just the 3 of us. The way it always should have been. Asterisk Daniel tossed his gun aside and spread his arms. So, what now? You gonna kill me, Mark? After everything we've been through? Mark's hand shook. You slept with my wife. Lied about your death. Used Jake to torture her. Why? Daniel's grin turned wicked. Because it was fun. Something inside me snapped. I pulled the trigger. The bullet hit him in the stomach. He gasped, crumpling to his knees. That's for me, I whispered. Mark stepped forward, pressed his gun to Daniel's forehead. And this is for everything else. 6 months later, asterisk, the police called it a cartel hit. No bodies were ever found. Mark and I don't talk about that night. Some things are better left buried ... As for me, I keep the US but the real one in a safe deposit box. Insurance, in case the world ever tries to corner me again. But sometimes, when I'm alone, I take it out, and I smile, asterisk. 6 months later, asterisk, the police called it a cartel hit. No bodies were ever found. Mark and I don't talk about that night. Some things are better left buried ... As for me, I keep the US but the real one in a safe deposit box. Insurance, in case the world ever tries to corner me again. But sometimes, when I'm alone, I take it out, and I smile, asterisk.